Okay, what's going on, guys? Jack here, founder of the Executive Body Standard, back with another video. Today I'm talking all about training intensity and why training intensity beats heavyweight every time. Now, for a lot of people, they'll probably equate these two subjects together as one and think intensity is heavyweight, i.e. if we're not pushing the weight up on the bar, if we're not trying to lift heavy and lift the maximum weight that we can lift in every single session, then what are we doing? We're just messing about, we're lifting within ourselves, and we're not training intensely, okay? That is not true. The two things are not the same. That is a complete wrong mindset from my perspective. And it's going to lead you down a path and towards a dead end. So in this video, I'm going to break out the two concepts into two, lay out what they both are, and explain what real intensity in the gym is, how it's different from heavyweight, and then why fundamentally you should be pursuing this path of high intensity and ignoring as best as you can this path of heavyweight if you want to make real progress, if you want to make quick, consistent progress in the gym. Okay, so just to start off with then and break down that common misconception, that common mispractice in a little bit more detail. What a lot of people do when they really get into their training is start to chase load rather than stimulus, okay? Which is chasing the number on the bar, chasing the amount of weight that they're doing in every single exercise, and not chasing the amount of stimulus that they're getting towards their muscles. What a lot of people tend to think is that heavier weight equates to more muscle. That by lifting heavier, by moving that number up every week, week on week, that's automatically going to equate to just more muscle. Okay, 9 times out of 10, or maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but a lot of the time, it really doesn't, okay? There might be a certain correlation between them, of course, but a lot of the time it really doesn't. And that's because what we can very often fall into is this trap of ego lifting, okay? Or essentially, and what the definition of that term is essentially dropping form in replacement for heavier weight. Now, we've all been guilty of that from time to time, and it can slip back in all the time. I've been guilty of it. I still find myself guilty of it from time to time. Your ego gets the better of you, or if we're really pushing the boat out and challenging ourselves to the next degree, sometimes it just gets a little bit difficult to really control our form and really be as dialed in as we want to be, okay? To a certain extent, that's okay, but we have to keep a rein on it as best as we can, okay? Ego lifting is possibly one of the biggest mistakes and biggest hurdles, biggest setback that someone that's training consistently can encounter. It massively holds you back without ever realizing. And that's because of a few different reasons. Just to list a few, what it can lead to is sloppy form, reduced range of motion, and reps becoming more rushed, i.e. reducing the time under tension that we are providing to our muscles. Essentially, the focus shifts to winning against the bar, okay? Winning against that exercise, that number that you're looking to achieve, rather than building muscle, okay? Rather than loading stimulus and intensity onto our muscles, okay? Reduced time under tension, reduced range of motion, and reduced form and control all equals reduced muscle stimulus, reduced muscle activation, okay, reduced mechanical tension, and reduced muscle growth. Okay, so intensity versus heavy load then. What is the key difference? Well, to put it simply, load is just the weight that you've put on the bar, okay? Load is just the number, the arbitrary number that you've allocated to that lift. Intensity is true effort, okay? Intensity is how close you're getting to muscular failure. So you can lift heavy, but still not lift with intensity, okay? You can put loads of weight on the bar and stop short and not get close to muscular failure. Our muscles don't grow in response to this, okay? They grow in response to tension that invokes as near to that failure state as possible, okay? Not just the sheer amount of weight that we're lifting. And just to delve down dangerously, because it might set the comments alight, but into the science behind this to a certain degree, okay? And your muscles are essentially made up of lots of different fibers. And those fibers only start to fully activate when we get as close to that failure state as possible. Think of it, as your muscle starts to fail and starts to fail and starts to fail, it recruits more and more and more and more and more muscle as it can until it can't recruit anymore. It's all being recruited and then it fails, okay? That's how we're gonna maximize our muscle activation and recruitment and essentially overload them. Going back to that term, progressive overload our muscles. And the key principle that we should really be loaded into our lifts when we're trying to achieve this is all about control. Controlled tension, having control around those lifts is going to lead to more time under tension, which means more mechanical stress, i.e. more stress on the muscle, activation of more muscle, and invoking us closer to that failure state. Now, I'm not saying don't lift heavy, okay? I'm not saying don't lift heavy. There is a massive, massive place for lifting heavy, and I'm a big advocate of pushing your weight and your lifts up as higher as you can, okay? So what I try to achieve with pretty much all of my clients is to boost their strength and to essentially get them lifting heavy, okay? So I'm absolutely saying that should be a goal, okay? But it cannot come at the expense of form. It's all about being able to do it with control, with time under tension and with control. Okay, so how to train with real intensity then? If I was going to set forward a mechanism of how to train with real intensity, this would be it, okay? Now, I would still say for us to lift as heavy as possible within our desired rep range, but I would focus all on control. And two fundamental principles: a slow eccentric, okay, a slow movement. If we're doing a bench press, that's the reverse on the way down, and a powerful, short, sharp concentric to maintain that power development within the muscles. The formula and tempo that I try to give to my clients and still with my clients is 4-to-1, okay? 4 seconds on the eccentric, 1 second on the concentric. So, for example, on a bench press, 1, 2, 3, 4. No spring and momentum from the tendons at the bottom. Little pause and bang, 1, okay? Control, maximal control of the muscle under maximal load is gonna maximize the mechanical tension and maximize our potential for growth. We fail and we stop when the execution of that starts to break, okay? There are a few little tools that we can throw into our workouts to try and boost that intensity even further, okay? If you're working with a coach, if you're working with a personal trainer, these are things that I very often use with my clients to overload them even more, okay? Number one is drop sets. Now, what's a drop set? Drop set, really a really short, a really quick definition of a drop set, dropping 20% of the weight, okay? And then trying to invoke that failure state again, straight after, no rest, failure within the initial working set. Rest pauses, which I almost inferred to a little bit before, but that's a much shorter version of it. Rest pause, which is a pause at the bottom of the rep range, a pause to stop the tendons springing and focus all of the tension on the muscle. And finally, and we can touch on constant tension reps as well, okay? Constant tension reps where we're not going through the full range, say, of a compound movement to avoid lockout and to force or keep tension all on one muscle group as part of that range, okay? These are some tools that you can use and also throw into your workouts. Give them a try. Let me know, reach out to me, let me know how you get on with them. If there's anything that you're confused about or that you need help and advice with, let me know. I'll do my best to explain. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching. Hope you found this video useful. Please do give the video a like, give the channel a subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.